Yeah.
Right, Louis. Sam Cheema, how you doing, fella?
What's up, mate? I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well. Coming to us live from New York.
Yeah, New Jersey right now. We're at the Devils facility. But yes, I live in New York City
You
now.
live in New York City. You just showed me before we started. Can you fit your camera around and show the YouTube viewers?
All right, so here's our rink that we skate out of, and then just behind me here would be the main arena. So you walk right through, just through this door, and you're onto the main arena. So it's not a bad setup. It's not I tell people it's no Guildford Spectrum where I grew up, but
Yeah.
we don't have a swimming pool and whatnot here, but it's really good. It's a great facility. Devils, like they're really good to me, so I'm really fortunate and honestly don't know how I'm here, to be honest. But hey, this is what I'm doing for a living, so I
Well,
can't
I mean, let's
complain.
take it back to your career in England. So you're a Guildford boy. Did you start playing at a young age in Guildford?
Yeah, so I watched the Mighty Ducks, and my mum's Irish and my dad's Indian, and so this is like 3 years old. And I just said, "Oh, I want to do that." I want to put. I don't know what. And they were like, "What is this?" Right? And so I think they got out the yellow pages and like looked up where the closest ice rink was. Happened to be Guildford. And back then, you had to kind of do your skating levels, like kind of like swimming badges,
Yeah.
before you could even like try out for the team. And the youngest team was the under tens. And so I did that for a few years. And then when I was 6, I tried out for the under 10s team, which had, guys like Callum Best, Andrew Melacrino, like really good players on it. And then Fred Polini was the head coach of the program. Obviously, Brendan is Brendan, but Fred played obviously for the Leafs and had a tremendous career playing hockey in England. So I was really fortunate, to be honest, like got on that team. And then stayed in Guildford all the way to, what would it be, U16. I had a bit of an ego and an attitude, and I thought I was better than, when you overstayed your welcome. So I left, went to Romford for a year, which is a lot of driving, and then followed a lot of the Romford boys. They went to Bracknell, which is close to where I live. So all right, so I went to Bracknell there for a second year U16, and then I went to so I played there first year U18, but honestly, mate, like it was. I wasn't in a good situation, and I actually wanted to quit hockey at one point. And I'm really, really thankful. Milos Melicheric, I obviously had burned some bridges at Guildford when I left. And then my best man, who's still playing now, George Norcliffe, he's playing for Basingstoke still, and he's like a good friend of mine. And I saw him in the Guildford Spectrum bar, his dad anyway, and he was just like to me halfway through that first year U18 season. He was like, "Why don't you come back?" And I was like, "Well, hang on, you're like the best team in the country. Like, how am I even going to come back?" And I burned some bridges. And then, Milos really, he brought me in and he said, "Cheema, like if you work hard and it's up to the boys, it's up to them if they take you back." And I just got my head down, worked hard, and finished the year out with Guildford. There, we went to the national semis. It was a pretty tough year. We lost one of our teammates in the playoffs. Tragically died. And then, finished up the second year at Guildford. Went to the national final. And then played. When I was U18, I signed on a two-way with Oxford. Played 2 games, and then at Christmas Day, we got told the team folded.
Oh,
So, so that was interesting. So then, quickly signed for Streatham, and at the time they were playing at Brixton, that new rink that they built. So that wasn't too bad. So I played over at Streatham there, and we were like the second worst team in the league. We just avoided relegation, and then I after that I went to Invicta, and then from Invicta I went to London races for like a cup of coffee, I guess, the season afterward, just kind of regained some confidence. Played 2 games there, and I jumped back. I went to MK just like after 2 games, and and then went to America. Did a year over here, like just studying. Had knee surgery, and then signed for White Link, Isle of Wight at the time, and that was like a really good team. Like we had an unbelievable group of guys, and like Ryan Webb, George Norcliffe, Ben Painter, you know, Verdi was there, Jordan Gregory, Danny Inglesby. So it was like a lot of like local boys that we grew up
Yeah.
playing with, and it was a good team. And then that team folded because the rink got seized. So, so that was.
Yeah, that's
And
quite a
then,
famous rink amongst a lot of players that have played throughout the leagues. They all sort of say, you go down to Ride and play in that White Link Arena, and if you were a visitor, you hated it. But if it was
oh,
your rink, it was brilliant.
I don't know why. I always play my best games on the like whenever I was playing. I always play my best games there. Like maybe it was the smallness of it, and it was really easy to defend if you're a defensive defenseman because like the puck is always on top of you, so it's really easy. Didn't have to cover too much ice, so it was more physical. But yeah, it was a really fun atmosphere to play in. Really great people there as well, like people running the rink and running the team. Just great, like even though you're on a boat to practice and all that stuff, it was a really phenomenal time. And yeah, then I went to Kazakhstan with the GB University team. I finished the year off in Bracknell with the Hornets, and kind of knew that was the end of my hockey career. Like I was graduating university, and I was like, all right, I'm going to America, and like that was where I knew, and I didn't. My intentions were never to be in hockey full time with my job. I always worked in like advertising agencies and whatnot in the off season or during the season,
Oh, wow.
and it's true that like hockey can't pay your bills in England, right? It's like even though
Yeah,
you're playing in the NIHL or even in the elite league, you still got to have another job sometimes. And so I knew that was like my kind of my destiny, right? It was just like, all right, if I want to do something, and I was very studious and at university. So yeah, I came here, and then now I'm full-time hockey coach. I'm coaching I don't know 8 different countries. On the ice 6 to 8 hours a day. I have players that play in the NHL and Division One, and own my own girls program now, and we have 40 kids committed to college. We built our own high school this year. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how an English Irish person from England is doing what I'm doing, but yeah, that's how I kind of got here in a short space of time.
yeah. It's a truly astonishing story, actually, when you run through it there of your career and then into what you're doing now. So I mean, being Romford and Invicta for a certain time, did you ever have the Chelmsford rivalry? Did you come to the Riverside to experience that?
I hated Chelmsford with a passion. Like not even when I was at Romford or Invicta, I just hated them from like a young age. Like like just hit like those guys. Like I played with a lot of them for 1 year at like Southeast when I was at Romford,
Yeah,
and like I'm a like from a southern village in like outside London, right? So things are a little bit different. Um, and it's just, yeah, I hated playing Chelmsford. We always got the best of them. When I was at Invicta, they had a really good team though. Like they had oh, who was it? Well, you had Hammond there, right? And you had Aileen was pretty good at the time. Um, Novak played, and then he went somewhere else, and he went away. But you always had good
James
players.
Ailing is actually on this episode with you.
Oh, he is. All right,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So he's a couple of years older than me. He was really good. And then yeah, they always had like good players, and they always had this super annoying breakout where the D will come behind the net, they'll drop it back, and then they'll hit the far side. I mean, you know what's happening all the time, and then just every single time, it's like textbook. Um, the Chelmsford rink, I hated the benches, the way it was like staggered, like it was
yeah.
like 3 levels to the bench is like makes no sense. Um, and there was always guaranteed at least 2 or 3 fights whenever you played in Chelmsford, and the fans were really good. Like the rink they have a really good atmosphere there. I hated the walk up to the rink. Up there, you have to walk through everyone to get in up the ramp.
It's changed
Um,
slightly now, actually. Since the leisure centre there, the Riverside Centre has had quite a large refurbishment.
oh, it
And
has.
then since COVID, the teams now come out of different entrances. So the home players walk through the crowd, and the away players just literally come out the corner and walk in the corner of the ring.
Oh yeah, because even when you used to walk through the crowds to get back, like I remember after like you'd get everyone hurling abuse at you. And then I remember, like, when I was at Stratton, we had guys like Norman Pinnington and like Warren Ross. And my fun, like the memory that sticks out to me the most about playing Chelmsford was um, we were playing in Brixton, and I'm an idiot. Like, I'm going around behind the net picking up a puck, and my head's down. And who was it at the time? It was, the name escapes me, but he was one of the best players in the league, and like he'd always played, and I think he even went to a face cage in the end. Um, and I just got, like, my bell rung. My head was down, I got a big hit, and then I was on the line with Norman Pinnington, so Norm goes after him, and then Danny Cox, who was like that tough guy, I guess, at the time, so he jumps on the ice to go with Norm, and Norm throws like three of the biggest punches I've seen in my life, and I was just like, I'm glad this guy's on my team, not the other way around. But yeah, no, I have really fond memories of just of what it was like, and I'm also like, just although I'm over here and I still have a lot of roots back in England with my friends still playing in the league. Like, I went to watch Romford play against Bracknell at Christmas time, and it was like watching the same team that I played on, the same guys and stuff. So I do try to keep in touch and tabs of it all, and I only want the best for hockey in England,
Yeah.
and try to figure out ways, whatever I can do to help as well, like just with different experiences. And, a lot of kids try to come to the US, and there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of different types of programs, a lot of different routes to get to whatever level you're at. But there's a lot of, like, I hate it when a kid goes from England to the US and then comes back and plays in the elite league or the NIHL. It's like, why are we back to square one? Why don't we?
Almost like wasting that opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, and just like making sure they get the right advice, so they go into the right programs, so they're like putting them to the, if you're going over to US, you want to be playing in the USHL or the NA or the NCDC at the very least. And if you're going to go to a school or an academy, you want to go to a place that's going to, has a proven track record of kids going to those places, not just saying, oh, here's 40 grand, 50 grand, whatever these kids are paying now, and then ending back and just playing in whatever the EPL was, the NIHL.
Yeah.
So yeah, so whatever I can do to help on that stuff, I'm really, like, always all ears. And even I did like the whole Twitter, like the other day, I just went on Twitter about just speaking to a British girl, and it's just yeah, I don't know. It's English, but it's my background, so I have to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got that written down. Obviously, I saw the exchanges on Twitter, and I think is it the JB16s that have just been selected to go to Latvia?
No, it's not that. It's I was speaking with so there's a lot of kids. They go to a Canadian school right now called OHA, and it's the same thing that, like, Sam Godfrey and like Ben Russell and David Clements and all those guys. They kind of went there, and I think someone went to Notre Dame and stuff. And it's no slight on them or whatever it is. It's like they just don't know the other opportunities available to them. So I'm speaking to this girl, and and UK, you don't make a lot of money. Like £100,000 is like, oh my god, you're crushing it. Like, that's, whereas $100,000 in the US is like, if you're educated, it's a pretty standard salary.
Yeah.
So the girl I was talking to was talking about, like, her experience, and like, she was saying, like, yeah, so the federation, when she plays for the GB team, even though she's in Canada, she has to fly herself back. So it's about £1,200 sometimes for a pop, right? Maybe more. And then GB pays for the £40 EasyJet flight from Luton or wherever it is to fly to where they're going. And that's just completely wrong, because now you're getting, well, one, the kid's leaving the country to better herself, which is actually going to enhance the level of play in the national team.
Yeah.
And then two, like, the families are footing the bill for something that everything should be paid for by the national team. Like, in my program now, I have a player who plays on the Swedish national team, two Austrians, an Italian, a Danish girl, and then last year I had a Japanese kid who played on the national team. I've had Czech girls, I've had Norwegians, And the way it works is like the federation pays for everything, you know, and even the federation gives them money to come here and play here. Um, so
Because it's going to
it's
be to the benefit of their national program in the long term.
yeah, and they see that like it's like there was a boys team, a Chinese boys team that they would pay for a whole team to go live in Long Island before COVID, and they had a whole team of just Chinese guys, and because they know that to get the best, you need to have okay, you need to have great coaching, you need to have like the volume of training in terms of like on the ice, off ice, and all that stuff, and being in that environment, but then also you got to have the competition to play.
Yeah,
So if you're not getting the competition, then like how are you ever gonna? That's one pillar, like a big pillar that you're never gonna be able to, you know, push on and go on to the next level. So they see that and they understand that. Like I had a girl last year, Hina Shimakai, and like she's a 2004 and like probably one of the best 2004s, you know, playing hockey. And she, you know, the federation paid for everything.
yeah,
You know, like they paid for like the whole time here. So all in for one player, they're paying like 65 grand maybe a year. And she's not the only one getting that. And they realize that like if they want to compete with the tops of, you know, teams in the world, then that's an investment that they're going to have to do. Um, and it's just unfortunate when I hear like the same thing with, you know, I talk about Cooper, and I spoke with the GB coaches there, and Coops, you know, for the U20s, and they were, you know, like they was talking back and forth, and Coops was playing on the number 3 team in the country in the U18 at Long Island Goals.
yeah,
Now, if you look at the Long Island Goals and see where the kids go to, every kid's a Division One commit, every kid's playing USHL or the NA, and it's like a factory. And they were like, well, you know, we haven't seen him, and like this kid's playing NIHL one, and I'm like, but U18 is like higher. Like if you take the Long Island Gold U18 team and put them in the NIHL right now, they'll wipe the floor of every competition.
yeah,
Like even though they're 18 years old, they'll crush everyone. The skill set is just a different level. And then you know, and then they were like, we're looking at the flights to fly back, and they were telling me as well, same thing. Yeah, he has to pay his own way to come back and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's that like okay, so you're gonna go and play in Estonia or wherever they went, and it's gonna cost you £2,500, like with the flights and the travel and all the stuff. Okay, and then then you're gonna miss an opportunity playing in front of college coaches, junior coaches, because it's like when you play games here, you get scouted. Like there's people in the stands every game.
yeah,
When you're playing against like the Shaddocks, the BK Selects, you're playing against, you know, the Rockets, the Avs, whoever it is. Like there's people are watching those games. So it doesn't make any sense if what your long-term goal is to play at the top level. Um, it's just unfortunate, and I don't know, like I don't know who's running what or whatever is going on. Like I just want to, and it's not to slag anyone off or say they're doing a bad job or whatever it is. Maybe it's just got to be a case of having a serious, you know, if there's no money, fine, there's no money. I get it. Like if there's no funding for it, I understand. But then how do we get the funding? How do we
yeah,
go and get the money, you know, and then help these players? Because, you know, in turn, it's just going to help the national team. And, you know, I was working with the Spanish Federation. So I did a camp in Madrid with them. And all through COVID, I was on Zoom with them and doing stick handling and like, you know, and like these kids don't speak English and it's like super funny and interesting. But we had a whole off-ice program for them. You know, like they were doing their lifts every day, even though everyone's in different parts of the world, they all had a program to follow. And, you know, I asked some people on the GB side, like, do you have like an off-ice program that these kids can follow in the summer? No, we don't have that. And I'm like, it's super easy just to be able to like program something. There's like an app called Train Heroic, and you basically can coach anyone from anywhere, right? And it's just one of those things where, you know, we just gotta, if we're really serious about taking our sport to the next level, you've got to have something where kids can look at and be like, oh yeah, we're really good, you know,
yeah.
and I want to be there, and it's going to inspire them, and not be like, you know what, screw this, why am I doing this? I'm giving up my Fridays and Saturdays for nothing. Um,
Yeah, it's such a, I mean, I think a lot of one of the main reasons I started this podcast was to try and push the sport further along because it's, I mean, it's in the top 10 in the UK, but it's probably not top 5.
No, it's not. It's not. Definitely not. No.
No, I mean, but it's an expensive sport to play as a child,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of travelling, there's a lot of commitment involved in it, and I think it's kind of like the similar with the FA with the football. It's like the old white man syndrome. Don't change it. Don't do this. Don't do that. And I think it's going to have to be the Olympics. Once you start seeing GB in the Olympics, Winter Olympics on a regular occurrence, I think then the kids are going to see that on TV and be like, oh, I want to try that. I want to, because I mean, the magic of the Mighty Ducks in the '90s is not going to happen again, where it's going to take this global stretch of 10-year-olds thinking, and 3 in your case,
Yeah.
I want to do that. So, but I think that's the thing. If you would sort of sit down with the GB or the UK Hockey Association and say, you need to fund it more, and they'll say, but we need to qualify for the Olympics first. But do you know what I mean? They're banging heads against walls, aren't they?
Well, the easiest way that you can qualify for the Olympics is investing in the women's program.
Yeah, that was a point I was going to make later, because I know you're coaching with girls. Is I think as much as the men's team are doing well and they've got a really great chance for the next Winter Olympics, it is the girls and the women that are going to make it first, I think.
Well, and the performances. So, like, let's take Spain, for instance, right? If you start trending and looking at the Spanish Federation and like the Spanish, like 2005, 2004, 2006, and 2007 players, and look at, they don't have rinks, they don't have money. Like, their rink that we did in Madrid was like, it was like gospel, like back in the day, like it wasn't like nice.
That's not changed much, Sam.
Yeah. So it's like the same stuff, like, so it's not, but like they just invested in coaching. And so, they brought us over and then they invested like, okay, like we're going to do this program and we're going to do it and we're going to get these kids together. They don't play many games. A lot of the kids actually play inline hockey a lot, more than ice. But look at how well they've done. They won like back-to-back gold medals at the U18 level. And the GB setup, it's like why are we getting beat by Spain, right? And and you got to look at it and go like, and then speaking to this girl as well, and it's like, she's telling me that, all right, so they go to the national team, they get a secondhand old helmet that's like a 4500, which is one of like the cheaper helmets. They get secondhand gloves with holes in them to wear. They get a shell. And then they get socks and a jersey that the socks normally have holes in, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm running a hockey program. I know how much these things cost, and I get it. But you're telling me, like, I'm sponsored by True. Like, True gives me all my equipment every year. I get as many sticks as I want, custom sticks. Get as many skates as I want, custom skates and gloves. Like, and I'm just a coach, right? So, like, why, if Bao is going to be the sponsor on the whole program, why are we not getting something for the girls, right? And then and what I know more about girls is like, if you make them feel good, like they play really well, and a lot of it is just if we just invest that into that, and I've in the last Olympics I coached 14 players that played in the Women's Olympics.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at it and going like, all right, on the US side, so I train Erin Frankel. Erin's a goalie on the US national team. She's a full-time salary employee for the U.S. national team. Like, she's getting paid to play on that team, like full-time job.
Yeah.
And now she's playing PWPHA as well and getting paid from that. So, she's making a good chunk of change from it. But, you've got to get those players now into the college. You've got to get them players into playing Division 1 or Division 3. Now, that starts at an earlier age. So they've got to be in an environment just like the boys at 14 or 15. To becoming like, if they're not getting what they need in the UK, then how do we get them somewhere else where they can get more volume, more competition, and all that stuff? So it's like, and then again, the finances are hard because the families, like if you're a working class family, you can't just up and put a bill for 35,000, 40,000 a year to go send your kids somewhere else.
Yeah.
When it comes to the haves and the have-nots, and that's what the sport should never be about. That, the sport shouldn't be about. It shouldn't make a difference if you make £1 a year or £100 a year or whatever it is. It should be, if you have talent, you have dedication, you have drive, then we should always find ways to help those players more and more and push them along. And
yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, as a sport, it's it's not got the characteristics of an elitist sport, but obviously, as we've discussed, the finances involved in not just starting it, but progressing it onto a level, as you say, when you get to that certain level and you say, right, if I'm going to get better, I've got to go to America, I've got to go to Finland, I've got to go to Sweden. That it should, as you said, it should be there for everybody, not just for the ones that can afford it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's something when the government announced the sport funding, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, and I don't think ice hockey even got £100,000.
Well,
And
because maybe we're not doing, I don't know who's, again, I don't know who's involved. Like, I don't know who is running anything. I don't know. I know obviously the IHA is running the youth level and the NIHL or whatever it is, and you have the Elite League, but then you have the England national team, and you have the Great Britain national team, and then
yeah,
there's like, and everyone's saying that you got to pay to try out, and then you got to like pay for hotel, like all this stuff. Okay, I get it. Like you're gonna have to pay for something, but like whoever is running it, are we not having the right conversations with the right people? Are we not doing doing our homework and like, all right, let's go for like, because these other federations figure it out and they know how to fund this.
yeah,
Now, if you look at the like, if again, obviously I'm very entrenched in the girls side, so if you look at the Japanese federation, so they have an '04 team that was phenomenal. Like their '04, '03 team, unbelievable. Like you watch them play, it's like holy hell. And they all knew how to be and where to be on the ice. And their talent level, they won the Youth Olympic Games in 2020, which is like, they beat every team, like, and which is the best team in the country, in the world, right? At
yeah,
that age. Now, the interesting thing is for Japan is like, which I think they missed the boat a little bit because like they didn't, well, one, they didn't educate their kids enough to get the English level to be able to play in college. Because if you want to compete now at the Olympic level, you're playing against USA and Canada, and all those USA and Canadian players all play Division One hockey.
yeah,
So you have to go and play. You have to send your players and be in an environment where you're playing 35 games at the college level against the best teams, at your age, and you're getting more training, you're getting all the equipment, all the resources, all the off ice, like provided by the school, and you're getting educated. So that's where they kind of missed the boat because of the English stuff. But I think it's definitely a conversation where we have to figure out, who is running it and how do we, that there is funding somewhere. I don't know where it is. I haven't, like, I'm not in the weeds of it or doing that stuff. It's just, I just, like I said to like the English guys that come here, like, don't, you don't want to come here and just be like, and end up back in England, like, and people will be like, I told you so, right? And it's, it's hard. Like coming to America is really hard. Like, you're playing 70 to 80 games a year at the youth level. You're playing 5 games a weekend, which is a lot.
yeah,
Plus, you're on the ice twice a day sometimes with the gym. So your volume of training and like just the training alone, you're at 15, maybe 20 hours a week sometimes just training. And then you've got your travels, and then like we were up in upstate New York, so that's a 4-hour drive there Saturday, and then we played here yesterday. So we came back and then played. So we played 3 games this weekend. The week before that, we were in DC. That's like a 4.5-hour drive down to DC. And then we played 5 games. We've gone to Florida. We played 7 games in 3 days there. You go to Minnesota. You go to Boston a lot. It's a 3-hour drive. So you're on the road a lot, and it's
yeah.
grueling. It's a tough schedule, but it's an important, because when you play, you get seen by people, and like people are watching, and that's basically, like our program is all about one, skill development, and then two, getting the kids committed to college. So we actually have the most college commits than anyone. If you draw a 300-mile radius from where we are, like we
Oh
have the
wow,
most.
and that Cheema Hockey
Yeah,
specific.
so
That.
like it's two things. It's like Cheema Hockey is like me as an individual doing my skills, but my program that I run is Ironbound Elite. So it's like basically a youth program. We have from 19U to 12U. We built our own high school, so I have kids like next year. I'll have what do we have? We're gonna have 17 international players. And we skate every day, we gym every day, we play 70 games, and since I started doing this on the girls' side, it was in 2020. That's when we've got 40 kids committed, which, in 3 years, 4 years now, it's been pretty good. Um, and then again, it's like I'm training guys like Luke Rowe, Anthony Stark. I've had Drew O'Connor on the ice with me. He plays with Pittsburgh Penguins. Cole Myers with Manitoba Moose and Winnipeg Jets. Ian Pierce is the defenseman I trains at Dartmouth. He's going to Washington Capitals next year. I've got like 5 guys getting drafted to the NHL this year, '05. So like Adam Silicki's over at Mississauga Steelheads. You got the boys at the U.S. National Development Team program, Aaron Manetti and Ryan Fine, all those guys.
Yeah.
So you got like, so I don't know how I got to this position where I'm training this caliber of players. But, and again, it's like I was never a good player, like skill wise, if you look at my elite prospects, you know, and I was coaching early, like maybe at 14, 15. I would like volunteer and help out, and I would get the train to Guildford early, and and help out Milos and stuff. So I was very invested in like wanting to coach and give back, but you never paid. Like it was just I was paying to go coach, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how I've ended up. This is my full-time job, and I live 10 minutes from Madison Square Garden and the Upper West Side, and can't complain. Like
No, you can't at all. It's a lovely area.
Yeah, it's expensive, but it's all right. I do all right for myself. So it's like, yeah, it's I think I just go back to, and like anything with UK, it's I sent a message to someone who at a time I think was running it. His name's Andy French, and I go home to like maybe I'm home 3 or 4 times a year, and I was just like, hey, like I'd love to help and volunteer, like if you need anything on like, and then they're like, nah, mate, you're all right, thanks, kind of thing, and I wasn't asking to get paid, right?
No.
And it was like I'm paying my own way to come here. I'm going to see my parents, like I may as well hop out on the ice
Yeah.
and do something, which is just like, I don't know, like it was a little bit frustrating, and like Danny Myers, I speak to Danny a lot, and he's got me out of ozone when I go home, and I just jump on the ice. So last summer I had like Matt Howlett, and there's another lad who's playing at Bristol now, is it Ed Bradley or something like that.
Yeah, but is that National Leagues, Bristol?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bradley ring the bell.
He's on two-way with Cardiff, I think.
Right.
So yeah, but like I just do skills all day long. Like you can look at the Instagram and just see like what we're doing. It's different drills than what I knew in England, and just trying to, I'll watch the Devils skate. I'll see what they're doing, and then a lot of the stuff I'm doing now is a lot of film with my college players and trying to incorporate. Okay, so a lot of the stuff is like I have defensemen, and like Luke Rowe this year has had a career year. He's had 27 points, and he's a captain. He's playing 28 minutes a game. Like the kid's a beast,
Yeah.
And he's at Air Force, and but a lot of the stuff that we're doing, like we can take a clip from a drill that we did on practice in the summer, and take a clip from his game, and it's like the same thing. He's executed that drill into the game. Just like it's been really phenomenal to see.
Yeah.
So,
and that for you as a coach, that's like the absolute pinnacle of coach to see that happening.
Yeah, no, and it's and like and then but they're seeking the feedback as well, which is interesting. Like so we talk with the college guys I work with. We talk like every Sunday and the kind of Monday kind of thing, recapping the weekend. And I have Instat, so I'm able to dive in to look at every single shift that they play and what their ice time was, what their turnovers were, how many shots do they have. And, I'm able to see when their ice time is dipping. So like Sedlicki, he was at Kitchener Rangers. And, last year he's only an '05, so he went there as a 15-year-old that just turned 16. And this year his ice time was dipping. So then I just became like more his therapist, you know, like just chatting with them, checking in, like, hey, you all right? You know, like just keep working hard, keep your head down. And, you know, I don't fully agree with what maybe your coach's tactic is here in the situation because it's your draft year, you know, and then you know, he's got a good situation now. He got traded out there and went to Mississauga and doing pretty good, you know,
Yeah.
and so some of that stuff is just like, because, you know, when those players go to those teams, they don't always have a coach or someone they can turn to that A, understands what they're going through, and B, like, you know, someone who can like talk hockey with them and try to build their confidence and then bring back the reference point of like, all right, hey Zid, remember like last summer when we were on the wall and we did that wall pickup drill where we turned our body? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, in that situation, you know, like your coach is pretty mad on you because you made a turnover in your own zone. But in that situation, you could have executed that level, you know,
Yeah.
and then you wouldn't have had that turnover. And it's just like, oh yeah, Cheema, I get that, yeah. So just like kind of reinforcing those things because when you're in the midst of the season, like those coaches, all they're getting paid to win games. So you know their livelihoods are not on promoting their players to the next level. Their livelihoods on the wins and losses on
Getting
that Friday,
results. Yeah.
Saturday. Yeah. So it's different. Um, but yeah, no, I don't know. Like I'm super fortunate to do what I do, and
Yeah. Well, it's not all luck. Do you know what I mean? You've obviously put in an awful lot of hard work to get where you are. So it's I think you're reaping the fruits of what you deserve entirely, mate. I think you've worked incredibly hard for it.
well, I got lucky a little bit. Like so, COVID was actually really good for me, which is sounds super weird because I just had I have a blood clot in my left leg, in my popliteal artery. So you know I have to now take a blood thinner every day, and I'm not allowed to play hockey and all this stuff, right? And I basically couldn't walk for 2 weeks. I had to teach myself how to walk again, and then COVID happens, right? So I'm now on the ice and everything's shut down. And I'm sure you saw on the news, New York City, big warship, like everyone's dying, right? Like it's, and it was like, okay, it was not like that at all, but like everything was shut. But I was very fortunate that I was the only one that had ice every day.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I had the best players, you know, Shane Pinto, who were Ottawa Senators, you know, skating every single day. And it's like, okay, so now I'm working with like the best players, like, you know, NHL guys, you know, and like it's okay, like this is really like, and this is pushing me as a coach. So I was sitting there like every day getting the reps, getting more accustomed, getting, you know, feeling comfortable working with them too. You know,
Yeah.
like I remember the first day I was on the ice with Drew O'Connor and Router was out on the ice. Like all the guys, like Corley was on the ice. There's all guys play NHL, AHL, East Coast, right? First day, I was nervous as shit. Like I was like shaking when I was like receiving puck and being very timid. But now it's like it's just hockey,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like you realize that like and they're the same age as me, some of them, maybe a little bit younger, but like you know, you're just still coaching them and trying to find little things. So yeah, COVID was it was really good for me, and then that also helped with just you know, if you're training good players, you know, you attract a lot of clients at the younger age groups.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the way we run our skills is we throw the big booty mix on the sound system, and we have at it, and we have a lot of fun. You know, like it's a fun environment. It's not. It's there's no pressure. It's touches. It's reps. It's thinking about things, and we get a good sessions in. You know, and that's kind of yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And having that ice available to you is just a godsend, isn't it? You'll know from playing in England, being from here, that ice time is just the killer of it all.
Yeah, yeah, no, and yeah, like I can't. I'm just I don't again I don't know how like I don't know what like outside the NHL Devils I have the ice. It's like I don't how is that a thing? You know, like I have as much ice as I want on. Some of them have too much ice, and I'm like, oh, what do I do with this?
Yeah, I'm amazed. I can't think of an ice rink in England where you'd be able to sit here and do this with me for half an hour and no one's on that ice.
Yeah, well, it's my ice right now. I
Yeah.
got the guys coming out here in like 20 minutes, so like Cooper's coming out here. So, but yeah, like it's I don't know, like I kind of just want like UK hockey, like as much as like you're limited by like ice time and school schedules and games and competition and rinks. I get it, but can we use those parameters and still be able to produce talent?
Yeah.
Right? Like
I think I was
instead of
discussing
saying,
with Nikki Watt last week. I think you probably would have played with or against Nikki Watt at some point in your career over here. That if we were to allow, because we've got the Chelmsford rule with no under 16s playing men's hockey, that if we were to not abolish that but bend it slightly for 2 or 3 exceptional players every year, obviously they have the exceptional rule over there, Connor Bedard, the most recent one, that if we were to allow them to step up, you'll sort of free up ice time a little bit further down if you were to let these younger people step up when they were ready.
yeah, like I know, but like you got to score what 3:30.
Mm,
You know, like if you have everyone local, you can be on the ice at 4 o'clock.
yeah,
I don't know, right? Like why are we on the ice till midnight? It doesn't make sense. Like all right, the NIHL, okay, we all have jobs. All right, but maybe the NIHL can stay at 8 a.m. in the morning. Maybe the guys don't want to do that. But 8 a.m. in the morning, go from 8 till 9, get to your work by 10. You're still working a 10 to 6 job. You know, like
yeah,
you're not having the hockey hangover and getting back at like whatever you're doing,
yeah.
right?
We've got guys that come from Peterborough and Guildford, and there's yeah. I mean, one of our players, Dan Fay, who lives round the corner from Guildford. Chelmsford is actually the furthest rink from his house in our league.
And it's yeah, and then but then it's like then I don't know, like you got to think like, well, what's like if you're always in the car traveling, and how then you're taking away time from training.
Yeah,
So why can't we be like, all right, let's maybe like at Danny with the ozone and the skills, like and like if I'm a kid, I'd want to be taking doing ozone like 2 extra times a week if there's skills available to me, right?
yeah,
So because we're not getting that in like in our practices. So again, you look at like a Liam Kirk, right? And like, okay, he's an outlier. He's not the norm.
yeah,
But like, we should look at like, how do we produce not just elite level talent? How can we produce like players who are going to play in the SHL, the Dell, like in that level? And it's but that's on the men's side. And the girls' side is an easy fix straight away off the bat. Like you can make that team really good like within 6 months.
yeah,
Because again, I see it, I track it, and I'm like, yeah, you just need to do these things, and your women's team will be really good.
yeah. Well, so as well as yourself and James Ayling on this episode, I've also been joined by Abby Minter, who is a
Okay.
Great Britain under 18s
Yeah.
player. So yeah, I'll be asking her whether coming out to something like your setup is an option for her.
Yeah, it's just the cost.
Yeah,
Like that's like I can't do much about it. It's just like that's just what it is. That you travel a lot, you're in a hotel a lot. You have the school, you have your visas, you have your food. It's a lot of money, and it's just like I'm able to work around some of the stuff and bring the prices down for some of those kids. And get some sort of scholarship money and try to look at the budgets across the whole program because I'm more passionate about helping these Europeans than anything else because like it changes their life.
yeah,
I have a Hungarian girl. So in 2019, I was working with her in Sweden. Name's Emma Kreis. And she's one of the best 03s in the world. Like she's played in the Hungarian senior team for a long time. And I work, and so I tell a couple of coaches. So I was like, Boston College coach Kinga was like my mentor for USA Hockey when I did the national team here. And I was like, Kinga, like this kid's unreal. Like she's like, you got to give her a call. And
yeah,
then she's like, nah, we don't recruit Euros. Like I'm like, all right, fine. So then she comes and like she lights it up, and then she has UVM, Yale, UConn, like offer her spot. Like basically Yale would be free because like financial aid doesn't matter. So and Yale's like #2 program in the country now. They're really good. And then Minnesota coming out of the woodworks like last minute, and then she goes to Minnesota and she's like sees Brianna Decker ripping pull-ups, and she's like, I'm going to Minnesota. And I'm
yeah,
like, all right, don't blame her. But like her whole life has changed. She's playing at the best. Like if you can just look at it like Minnesota's facilities and like their athletes have their own chefs, like they have everything that they need. Like their locker rooms are freaking phenomenal. The women's program has their own rink. This is a different place, right?
Yeah.
And imagine if you had a couple of those English girls, like the Hungarians now will have, I think there'll be a 5 playing Division One hockey, which like alone says a lot, and like Lottie Ogner, I trained her and she played at Dartmouth and then she plays now at St. Thomas for her 5th year, and she's going to be in the Olympics. They missed out last time, but they're going to be in the Olympics the next time. I trained Nadia Mativi. She's a captain at Boston University and they're hosting the next Olympics, so she's going to be an Olympian, and like Italy doesn't have much resources, it's just like, we have more resources in the UK than those federations have.
Yeah. You just got to make better use of them, I suppose, haven't we?
Yeah. And again, it's just a conversation. It's just like figuring out ways, and like you have like, you got to work on the young kids, like the U10s and whatnot, and then you got to like, okay, how do we get these kids in the sport? Then also, okay, we got some good U14, U16 players. Like, how do we push them, give them the next level? Because I remember when I was 12 years old, we played in Finland and Turkey, and we like won the tournament. At Guildford. We had a good team, but like from that, we played against like Nokorid and TPS Turku, like they're good programs, and I'm sure as hell it's probably at least 10 guys we played against are playing in like the Dell or the SM Liga, and none of us are playing in the Dell or SM Liga.
No.
Like, we're carpenters or whatever we're doing, like it's working for a bank or whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
It's just like you just want to, take those kids, and I think it's interesting to look at the progression of Brendan and Brett, right? Brett stayed until he was 14 or 15, and Brendan left when he was 12. Now, Brett was obviously drafted, but he went to Michigan State, and now he's playing in Europe and always played with the Panthers and stuff. But, like, if Brett left earlier, could he have gone to a high level? I don't know. I don't know him that well enough. He was really good in England. But Brendan left at 12, and, like, Brendan gets drafted first round. So, it's, we're just trying to figure out ways to do better for these kids.
Excellent. Well, I mean, that's the whole point, really, is that I suppose with Cheema Hockey is working out a way to do better for these kids. Sam Cheema, I'm so thrilled that you joined me on the podcast. I've really enjoyed this chat that we've had. By all means, plug Cheema Hockey. Tell us where we can find it and where we can see your stuff online.
Yeah, just I guess just type in Cheema Hockey, it comes up. I don't know, on whatever, like on website or Instagram is like big, I guess. Like maybe I'll get in more on Twitter. Like I won't not tweet for a while. But I don't know. Maybe
it's generally good for a good kickoff, isn't it, on Twitter? It's just generally good for a kickoff.
Yeah, but I'm gonna get out there and I don't know, we can see that.
There we go. We see some people on that New Jersey training pad.
Yeah, I gotta get out there.
Nice one. Sam Cheema, thank you very much. I'll speak to you again.